Hello, we're on to our next lesson on factorising now, and we're going to start by recapping what we did last lesson. So first of all, our learning outcomes for this topic are I can identify the highest common factor of two or more terms, and I can factorise using highest common factor. So we don't have a big long list there, but remember the essential skills that we need to be able to do this are being able to find the highest common factor and knowing how to multiply out brackets. So a quick recap on that before we go over again how to factorise. So first of all, we've got highest common factor of 15 and 25. So remember, we need to know the factors of 15 and the factors of 25 to be able to do this. So the factors of 15 are the numbers that multiply together to make 15. So if you start listing them systematically, we've got 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. Remember, we've done all this in our multiples and factors lessons. Factors of 25 are 1 and 25 and 5 and 5. So the highest common factor of 15 and 25 is the biggest number that's in both lists. And if we have a look, we can see 1 is in both lists and 5 is in both lists. And there isn't another number that's in both lists. So 5 is the highest common factor of 15 and 25. Now, when we're looking at 4a and 6a, we've got, just deal with the numbers first, okay? Highest common factor. So we need to list the factors. So factors of 4 are 1 and 4, 2 and 2. So the factors are 1, 2 and 4. But we've also got a to think about there. So a could be paired up with any of these. Okay? Then we've got 6a, so we've got 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. And we've also got an a. Okay? So looking at the numbers to find the highest common factor, the highest number that's in both lists, we've got 1 in both lists and 2 in both lists. There's no other numbers that are in both lists, so 2 is the highest number that's in both lists. But looking at the letters, we've also got an a in both. So the highest common factor of 4a and 6a is 2a. Right, we're going to go over multiplying out brackets now. So to multiply out a bracket, remember the term that's in front of the brackets, that's the 2 in this case, has to multiply by each term in the bracket. So by the 3a, and the 2 has to multiply by the 5. Okay, so to start with, 2 times 3a, well 2 times 3 is 6, and we've got an a there as well. Then we've got 2 times 5 is 10, and it's positive 2 times positive 5, so it's plus 10. And then this one, we've got 5t times 2t, so 5 times 2 is 10. T times t, remember, is t squared. Don't lose that squared there. Then we've got 5t times 3, so 5 times 3 is 15. And we've got a t as well. And we've got a positive 5t, but that's a minus 3 there, a negative, so we need a negative in between. Okay? So when we're factorising using the highest common factor, we're actually working backwards, so I'll leave that where we can see it. So what we're looking for is the highest common factor of 5a and 10. So let's first of all think about the numbers. What's the biggest number that goes into 5 and goes into 10? In other words, what's the highest times table where you will find 5 and 10 in the times table? So it would be the 5 times table. And then we have a look. We haven't got an a in the second term, so a is not a common factor. So 5 is the highest common factor. So we open our bracket now. So 5 times this has to give us 5a. Well, 5 times a is 5a, isn't it? And then at the end of the bracket, 5 times this has to give us this positive 10. So 5 times positive 2 gives us positive 10. So we can, if we just get rid of that, there we go. So we can say that 5a plus 10, when you factorise it using the highest common factor, you get 5 bracket a plus 2. Okay, and for the next one, we need to look again and see what is the highest common factor of 24 and 20. So if we wanted to, we could write out the factors of 24 and write out the factors of 20. In fact, let's just do that. So 24, the factors are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12 and 24. The factors of 20 are 1, 2, 4, 5, 10 and 20. So looking at both lists, we've got 1, 2, 4, and that's it, isn't it? So 4 is the highest common factor of 24 and 20. And then looking at the letters, we've got a T there and a U there. So there's no common factor in the letters. So we need to now work out what goes in the bracket, so that 4 times what goes here is 24t. And that must mean 4 times 6 is 24, and we need a t. And then 4 times this has to be 20u. So 4 times 5 is 20, and we need a u as well. And because we've got a minus there, we need one there. Okay, so when we factorise 24t minus 20u, we get 4 bracket 6t minus 5u. Okay, so remember, when we're factorising, we need to first of all identify the highest common factor, and then we make the partners go in the brackets. So we're going to have a look at our steps to success for factorising, and you can keep coming back to this or you can write it down. So the first job when we're factorising using highest common factor is identify the highest common factor of the terms. So that includes the numbers and the letters. Then, next step, write the highest common factor outside a bracket. And then the last step, work out the partners of the highest common factor so that the bracket multiplies out to give the original expression. So we're going to follow those steps for success now as we factorise these expressions. So looking at the first one, step 1, identify the highest common factor of the terms, numbers and letters. We'll look at the numbers first of all. So the highest common factor, the biggest number that goes into 4 and 10 is 2. We've got an x in the first term but not in the second term, so there's no x as a common factor there. So now we need to work out 2 times what gives us 4x. Well, 2 times 2 gives us 4. And we need an x there as well, don't we? Because 2 times 2x, 2 lots of 2x, is 4x. Then 2 times the number that goes here is 10. So that must be 5. And because everything's positive, we need a plus there. Okay, next one. Highest common factor, step 1, highest common factor. So the largest number that goes into 15 and 12 is 3. Looking at the letters, there are no letters in common, so we don't have a letter as a common factor. So 3 times what is 15t? Well, 3 times 5 is 15, and we need the t. Then 3 times what is 12u. Sorry, I skipped a page there. And 3 times 4 is 12, and we need a u as well. And again, everything's positive, so we need a plus in the middle. Last ones to practice here. So first of all, find the highest common factor. So the biggest number that goes into 16 and 2 is 2. But if you have a look, you've got an a squared in the first term here and an a in this term here. So we've got an A in both of those. So this time we've got an A as part of our common factor, our highest common factor. So now we need to work out 2A times what goes here has to be 16A squared. So 2 times 8 is 16, and A times A is A squared. So 2A times 8A is 16A squared, because you've got 2 times 8 is 16, A times A is A squared. Okay, now have a look at this, what goes here. Well, our term needs to be 2A, but we're multiplying 2A to get it. So that must mean that it's only going to be 1 that goes there. But because we've got this minus here, we're going to need a minus there as well. So the answer to that one, if I write it without the scribbles, is 2A bracket 8A minus 1. And then our last example, before you get quite a while to try them for yourselves, is what's the highest common factor of 50 and 150? Now we've got a few choices of common factors here, but the highest common factor turns out to be 50. And you can see we've got an x here and an x squared there, so that gives us an x as a common factor. So 50x times this number here gives us 50x. Well, that must just be 1, mustn't it? Because 50x times 1 is 50x. And then we need to make our 150x squared. So 50 times 3 is 150, and x times x is x squared. And if we look, we've got a plus there, so we need a plus there. And we can check all of these by multiplying them out and checking that we get what we started with. Now, over to you. I want you to practice, okay? Now, with questions like this, I do honestly think repeated practice is what's going to help you. So I know there are a lot of questions there. You could choose, you don't have to do them all. I do want you to spend time and do at least 10 questions, okay? All right, so you pick which ones you want to do, and the answers are going to follow. So there are the answers to the first set of questions. So pause the video again while you check your work. And then we're going to basically just move on. If you're doing okay, that's brilliant. Go on with the next bit of the video. If you're struggling or if you're needing help, make sure you go back into your lesson and ask for help, because there's more questions to practice with, and these ones have got more in the way of letters, okay? Now, what I'm not doing this time is putting the answers on here, because I don't want anybody just looking at the answers as they're doing the questions. So what I reckon is do at least 10 of these as well, if you can. And then pop back into the lesson and show your teacher what you've got so they can tell you whether you're right or not. Okay? So there's lots of questions there to try. It's up to you which ones you do. Okay? But I really want you to have a go at these. They're a bit more tricky than the other ones. And that's really all we need to do with factorising just now. There are different kinds of factorising when we get further on with our maths. But for the time being, if you can factorise using a highest common factor, that's really, really good. And we'll get on to the different kinds of factorising once we've got a few more skills under our belts. So well done so far. And remember, check if there's anything that you're not sure about. See you soon.